All right, so you ready to like dive into this whole 2024 election thing?
Always.
But not the way like everyone else is. We're
Right.
talking about immigration.
Okay.
But get this, how it's becoming a huge deal in some pretty unexpected places.
Interesting.
So you send over this AP News article,
Yeah.
right? And it's about a Trump rally.
Okay.
What the hell is happening with our country? What are they doing? What are they doing to Colorado? They're ruining your state. No person who has inflicted the violence and terror that Kamala Harris has inflicted on this community can ever be allowed to become the president of the United States. We're not going to let it happen. But to everyone here in Colorado and all across our nation, I make this pledge and vow to you. November 5th, 2024 will be Liberation Day in America. I'm announcing today that upon taking office, we will have an Operation Aurora at the federal level to expedite the removals of these savage gangs. And I will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798. Think of that. 1798. This was put there. 1798. That's a long time ago, right? To target and dismantle every migrant criminal network operating on American soil.
Of all places.
Let me guess.
Colorado.
Had to be somewhere unexpected.
Colorado. Really?
It does seem a little out of place, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not like Colorado is some kind of swing state, right?
Right.
I mean, it's pretty reliably blue.
Yeah.
So why is Trump even bothering,
Yeah, that's the thing. It's strategic. See, he's not necessarily trying to win the whole state.
Okay.
He's zeroing in on these smaller communities, like tucked inside these larger states.
Right.
The ones that aren't really competitive in the grand scheme of things.
Makes sense.
Places that might be feeling, economic pressure.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're seeing some demographic shifts.
I see. So it's about energizing his base.
Partly, yeah. But it's also about testing a narrative.
What do you mean?
This whole small town America under siege story. He wants to see if that has legs for 2024, if it resonates.
So it's like a test run for a broader strategy.
Exactly.
And speaking of these smaller communities, the article talks about Aurora, Colorado, specifically.
Okay.
Apparently there was this video, right?
I saw that, yeah.
About some kind of incident.
Yeah, it was
about with these armed men in an apartment building. And get this, it housed Venezuelan migrants.
Right, and that's the thing. This is a perfect example of how a local event, even a small one,
right,
is picked up, blown out of proportion, and then used for political purposes.
Wow.
Now, to be fair, the local authorities, they were very clear about this. They called it an isolated incident, and they assured everybody that the area was safe.
Right, but that's not the story Trump's telling, is it?
Not even close.
They did.
He's using this incident, and again, we have to say it,
Yeah.
however isolated,
Right.
to paint this picture,
Correct.
this very dramatic picture of a state in chaos.
Wow.
And then, of course, he blames Biden and Harris for ruining things.
Creating a sense of fear and instability.
Exactly.
Okay, and here's where, at least for me, it gets really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
The article says, Trump's language takes this sharp turn,
I've read that.
He's calling migrants animals.
Oh, wow.
Using the word invaded.
Really?
And he's even doubling down, right, on this
Right.
whole thing about migrants inherently being criminals. It's not exactly subtle, is it?
No, it's not. It's classic Trump rhetoric, fear-mongering, dehumanizing language, using claims that just completely fall apart if you look at them closely.
Right, right.
But here's the thing, and this is important.
Okay.
As inflammatory as this kind of language can be, it really does seem to land with certain voters.
Really?
We're talking about people who feel unheard, left behind.
I can see that.
Maybe even a little afraid of how much everything is changing around them.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's not just talk, right?
Yeah.
The article mentions something about actual policy proposals.
Right. He's putting some ideas out there.
Based on all of this.
Yeah, and this is where it gets interesting.
Okay.
He's talking about this thing called Operation Aurora.
Okay.
This plan, right? Specifically targeting a Venezuelan gang.
Interesting.
But here's the really eyebrow-raising part.
What's that?
He wants to use this old law, the Alien Enemies Act.
Whoa, hold on. The Alien Enemies Act, that sounds serious.
It is. It has been used very rarely throughout history.
Really?
Mostly during war, times of national crisis.
Wow.
So to even think about using it now
Yeah.
against a specific gang.
Yeah,
It just raises all sorts of questions, legally, logistically.
right.
I mean, some legal experts are straight up saying this would be a massive overreach of executive power.
Really?
And even if it is somehow legal,
Right.
actually making it happen, pulling it off.
Right.
Different story entirely.
It's like, is this a real plan or just
Yeah. It's hard to say.
trying to look tough, you know?
It's definitely about image, right?
Yeah.
Projecting strength, taking decisive action, all that.
But could it actually happen? I mean, is that realistic?
Honestly, it's tough to say. And it speaks to this whole thing we're seeing now.
What's that?
Politicians making these really bold promises.
Right.
Extreme, even.
Yeah,
But can they actually deliver? Do they even want to? Who knows?
that's a good question.
It's all part of the game.
Okay, so we've got Trump making these moves, right?
Right.
But what about Kamala Harris?
Oh, interesting.
The article mentioned her response to all of this, too.
Yeah, what'd they say?
I'm curious, what's her strategy here?
Well, it seems like she's moving to the right, at least on this issue.
Really?
Trying to neutralize what her campaign might see as a weak point.
Interesting.
She's been really vocal about border security, being tough and cracking down.
Huh.
And that's smart, strategically,
How so?
because it lets her appeal to those moderate Republicans.
Right.
Maybe some independents, too.
The ones who are getting tired of Trump.
Exactly.
So it's almost like, what, two sides of the same coin here?
a good way to put it.
Trump's going for this gut reaction, right?
Yeah.
Fear, anxiety.
Playing on those emotions.
And then you've got Harris countering by using those same tough on immigration talking points.
The ones Republicans have always used.
Exactly.
It makes you wonder,
Weird.
what does it say about where we are politically that both sides feel like they have to do this?
Right. It's like there's this undercurrent of fear, anxiety
Especially about immigration.
that both sides are trying to exploit.
Yeah, it's a powerful force in politics.
And if you're just someone trying to stay informed, how do you even navigate that? It's like
Okay.
it's not even about the actual policies anymore, is it?
No, it's about the stories, the emotions.
So as voters, we have to be like super careful, right?
Absolutely.
About what we're seeing, hearing.
Think critically about everything.
Yeah.
Look at where they're campaigning,
Mm-hmm.
the language they're using. Who are they trying to reach with those messages?
It's like that old saying, right?
What's that?
Don't believe everything you read.
Right, except now it's more like,
Yeah.
don't just listen to what they say.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to how they're saying it.
So, like, let me get this straight.
Yeah.
We've got Trump, right?
Yeah.
Doubling down on this us versus them story he's telling.
It's a powerful narrative.
And he's focusing on these smaller communities, right?
Yeah, the places that don't always get this kind of attention.
Using some, like, really intense language, you know?
It's definitely about getting a reaction.
And then on the other side, we have Harris
Right.
trying to counter him by, like, using some of those same Republican talking points on immigration.
It's a fascinating dynamic.
It really is. For someone like me, just trying to keep up,
Sure.
it feels like we're getting pulled in every direction.
It can feel like that. Absolutely.
So, like, what's the takeaway here? What does it all actually mean for us?
I think you've hit on something really important. It's not just about the issues themselves anymore. It's about how those issues are being presented, framed even. Who's doing the framing,
Right.
And this whole thing, this Trump rally in Colorado,
Yeah.
it's like this perfect example, this window into what's really going on in the 2024 election.
Okay.
We're seeing how fear and anxiety, especially about change, social change, economic change,
Right.
are being used as political tools.
And it's not just happening on the national level, right?
Absolutely not.
Like, it's trickling down to these smaller communities,
Yeah.
places that don't usually get caught up in the, like, election craziness.
But they're battlegrounds now, in a way.
It's like the whole country is becoming this political battlefield.
That's a good way to put it.
And every little thing
Every issue, every event.
becomes a potential, like, explosion point.
And that raises a really important question for all of us. How do we make sense of it all?
Right. How do we cut through the noise?
Exactly.
And, like, figure out what's a real debate
Yeah.
and what's just, someone trying to manipulate us?
It's more important than ever.
I don't know if I have the answer to that.
It's not easy.
But this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
it shows us how important it is to be, like,
Critical.
yeah, critical consumers of information. You know what I mean?
Especially during an election year. Yeah, for sure.
Don't just, like, follow the polls blindly
Right.
or get sucked into the drama every 5 seconds.
Look for the patterns. Pay
Yeah.
attention to what they're doing, the language they're using.
Right. Think about the information.
Yes. Don't just
Yeah.
accept it. Think about it.
And ask yourself, who benefits from me feeling this way?
Exactly. Whose interests are being served by my reaction?
Because knowledge is power, right?
It's true.
But knowing what to do with that knowledge,
Yes,
that
exactly.
feels even more important these days.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, this has been, I don't know, kind of unsettling, but also really interesting.
It's always a fascinating topic.
So thanks for, helping me unpack all of this.
My pleasure. Always happy to be here.
And to everyone listening, we want to hear from you.
Yeah, let's keep this conversation going.
What parts of this, really resonated with you? How are you seeing these trends, these tactics play out in your own community?
Right. What's happening where you are?
Jump into the conversation. Let us know. You can find us on all the socials.
Yeah, we want to hear from you.
Because ultimately, this is bigger than just an election, right?
It's about the future.
Yeah, the future of our democracy. And that depends on all of us being informed, engaged.
And ready to think critically about the choices we make.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks again.